My name is Erica, and I was 6 years old when my little sister, Sydney, was born. I remember the day my parents brought her home from the hospital. She was so small, wrapped in a pink blanket. "Erica," my mom said, "you're a big sister now. You have to help us take care of Sydney." Those words stayed with me throughout my childhood. Our house was simple but cozy, in a quiet neighborhood where everyone knew each other. My parents both had regular jobs. Dad was an accountant and Mom worked as a secretary. We weren't rich, but I always thought we had enough. At least until I noticed that things were different for Sydney and me. As we got older, it became clear that my parents treated us differently. When I was 11 and Sydney was 5, I accidentally broke a plate while washing dishes. My punishment? No TV for a week and extra chores. The next day, Sydney knocked over Mom's favorite vase while running around the house. "She's just a little girl," Mom said, sweeping up the broken pieces. "She doesn't know any better." This kind of thing happened all the time. I had to do chores to earn my allowance, but Sydney got money just because. If I wanted new clothes, I had to wait for special occasions. But if Sydney saw a dress in a store and pointed at it, she got it right away. Every day felt like an endless list of responsibilities. I woke up early to help Sydney get ready for school, walked her to her elementary school before heading to my own, and rushed back after my classes to pick her up. I helped her with homework, made sure she had snacks, and kept her entertained. Then one Friday in October, everything changed. That morning started like any other. I got up early, packed Sydney's lunch, and went to school. I had a math test that day, but my mind kept wandering. In my backpack was a summer camp brochure, something I had been dreaming about. I had been saving my allowance and doing extra chores all year so I could go to a special art camp. My paintings even earned me a small scholarship. Just 7 more weeks, and I would finally be there. During lunch, Mom sent me a text. "Don't forget to pick up your sister at 2:30. As if I could forget, I had been picking her up for years. My math test ran late, but I still ran as fast as I could to Sydney's school. I got there at 2:45. The schoolyard was empty. My heart started pounding. I checked every classroom, the playground, even the bathrooms. No sign of her. "Sydney? Have you seen my sister?" I asked the janitor, who was mopping the hallway. "The one with the blue backpack?" "She left with some friends right after the bell." My hands shook as I dialed her number. Straight to voicemail. I called again and again. Nothing. Maybe she went to Jenna's house, I thought, remembering her best friend. I ran 7 blocks, my backpack bouncing on my back. Jenna's mom opened the door. "Sorry, honey, I haven't seen her today." For the next 7 hours, I searched everywhere. The mall where she liked to window shop. The ice cream parlor she always begged me to take her to. The park where she hung out with her friends. My phone battery was dying. My feet were covered in blisters, but I couldn't stop. What if something bad had happened? At 9:10 p.m., I dragged myself home, ready to face my parents' worry and their anger. But when I walked in, there she was, sitting at the kitchen table, calmly eating pizza with Mom and Dad. "Where have you been?" Mom yelled, her face red with anger. "We've been worried sick." I stood there, too shocked to speak. I've been looking for her everywhere. She wasn't at school, and her phone was off. Before I could say more, Sydney spoke first. Her eyes filled with tears. "That's not true. I waited for hours after school, but Erica never came. My phone died, and I didn't know what to do. I went to my friend's house to call, but no one answered. Then I got lost trying to find my way home." I couldn't believe it. She was lying. I started to speak, but Dad cut me off. "We don't want to hear your excuses, Erica. Your sister could have been hurt. She ended up on the other side of town because of your carelessness." But I was there. The janitor saw her leave with her friends right after school. Enough. Mom slammed her hand on the table. "Go to your room and give me your phone. And forget about summer camp."
"What? No."
"I've been saving all year. I even got a scholarship. You should have thought about that before abandoning your sister. Maybe this will teach you responsibility." I looked at Sydney. She was hiding a smirk behind her slice of pizza. And in that moment, something inside me broke. All these years of reading her bedtime stories, buying her treats with my allowance, helping her with homework, it didn't matter. She wasn't my sister. She was just someone who happened to live in the same house. That night, I packed away all the board games we used to play together. I took down the drawings she made for me. I threw out the half-eaten bag of her favorite candy I kept in my desk. From now on, Sydney was just another person who lived in our house. Nothing more. Through middle school and high school, I focused only on my studies. My parents always talked about a college fund. At every family gathering, they proudly told relatives how they had been saving since we were born so both of us could get a good education. Once, I overheard Mom on the phone, mentioning the amount. It was enough to cover 4 years at a state university for each of us. In my junior year, I spent countless nights working on scholarship applications. My SAT scores were nearly perfect, my grades were all A's, and my teachers wrote glowing recommendations. When the acceptance letters arrived, I could hardly believe it. I had received a full scholarship to my top choice university. One evening, I decided to tell my parents the news. "Mom, Dad, I have some good news," I said, holding the scholarship letter. "I got a full ride to college, tuition, room, and board. Everything is covered." Mom looked up from her phone. "That's nice, honey." My heart pounded with hope. "Since you won't need to spend the college money you saved for me, maybe I could use it for something else. I've been looking into it, and it would be enough for a down payment on a small apartment. Or maybe even to start a business after graduation." The room went silent. Dad muted the TV. Mom's voice was sharp. "What college money?" I frowned. "The money you've been saving for our education." Dad cleared his throat. "Erica, that's our money. We saved it. We decide how to spend it." I felt my stomach drop. "But you always said it was for our college education." I protested. "Since I got a scholarship, we should use that money for something else." Mom cut me off. "College is getting more expensive every year. Your sister might need extra help." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So, because I worked hard and got a scholarship, I don't get anything? How is that fair?" "Life isn't fair," Dad snapped. "And it's not your money to claim." End of discussion. I stormed up to my room, my eyes burning with angry tears. The next few weeks were unbearable. My parents acted like nothing had happened. They talked about graduation and dorm shopping as if they hadn't just crushed my hopes. Whenever I tried to bring up the subject again, they either walked away or changed the topic. As I packed my bags for college that summer, I realized something. I was actually lucky. Lucky that I had worked so hard for that scholarship. Lucky that I hadn't counted on them for my education. Because now I knew the truth. In this family, I could only count on myself. The day I left for college, I quietly loaded my 2 suitcases into an Uber while my family slept upstairs. No tearful goodbyes. No family photos on the front porch. No care package of homemade cookies. Just the quiet click of the front door closing behind me. My first week on campus, I got a job at the university coffee shop. The hours were brutal. 6 a.m. openings before class, weekend shifts while other students went out partying. But it meant I could buy my own textbooks and never have to worry about running out of toothpaste. The only contact I had with my family was short voice messages on birthdays and holidays. "Happy birthday, Mom. Hope you have a great day. Merry Christmas, everyone. Stay warm." They rarely replied. And when they did, it was just as short. "Thanks, sweetie. Take care." One night, when I couldn't sleep, I found myself scrolling through Mom's Facebook page. There they were, dozens of family photos I had never seen before. Sydney, now 15, on stage at her dance recital, dressed in sparkly costumes. Her fancy birthday party, complete with a DJ and professional decorations. Family dinners with aunts, uncles, and cousins, where she was clearly the center of attention. Photos of her winning a school talent show, hanging out with her friends at the mall, smiling on her first day of 9th grade.
But there was nothing about me.
No mention that I was about to graduate summa cum laude from a top university. No photos of my empty chair at holiday gatherings. It was as if I had been erased from the family. After graduation, my friend Andrea had an idea. Let's rent an apartment together in Fresno. The tech scene is booming there. We could both get good jobs. Going back to South Dakota hadn't even crossed my mind. I got a job at a medium-sized marketing company, starting in an entry-level position. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough to cover my half of the rent in our small 3-bedroom apartment. I worked hard, staying late, learning new skills, and volunteering for tough projects. Soon, I was earning enough to afford my own place, a tiny studio apartment, but it was mine. Every inch of it paid for by my own hard work. After 4 years, I realized I had reached a limit. No matter how hard I worked, the company's structure meant I would have to wait years for a real promotion. One evening, while updating my LinkedIn profile, I got a message from a recruiter at Tech Dynamics, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in Fresno. "Your profile caught my attention," she wrote. "Would you be interested in discussing an opportunity with us?" The interview process was tough. 5 rounds of meetings, a presentation, and a strategy proposal. But at 28, I was ready for the challenge. When the offer came, I could hardly believe it. My new salary was nearly double what I was making, plus stock options and bonuses that made my head spin. My career took off. Within 3 years, I was leading my own team. My smart investments paid off, and soon, I walked into a Mercedes dealership and signed papers for a car I had only dreamed of in college. A few months later, I was approved for a mortgage on a beautiful 3-bedroom apartment in one of Fresno's best neighborhoods. Life was good, peaceful, until my phone rang one November evening. "Erica." My mother's voice sounded different, almost hesitant. "How are you?" I almost dropped my wine glass. We hadn't talked beyond short holiday messages in years. "I'm fine," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Is everything okay?" Yes. We haven't seen you in so long. Would you come home for Christmas this year?" For weeks later, I pulled up to my parents' house in my new Mercedes. Inside, I saw that some things hadn't changed. Sydney, now 25 and a fresh college graduate, was still living at home. She sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone while Mom fussed over the dinner table and Dad pretended to be busy with his newspaper. "Erica." Mom hugged me awkwardly. "We've missed you so much." Dad nodded from behind his paper. "You look well." Dinner was awkward, forced politeness, small talk, and long silences. Sydney barely spoke, but I noticed her watching me throughout the meal. Finally, she broke the silence. "You've gained weight," she said with that same old smirk. "I guess making all that money means you can eat whatever you want now," Sydney said, smirking. I looked at her, then at my plate of Mom's Christmas roast, and smiled. "Actually, I just have a peaceful life now. It's amazing how good life can be when no one is around to bother you." The silence that followed was sweeter than any Christmas dessert. After dinner, Mom asked me to stay behind while Dad and Sydney cleared the table. She led me to the old living room sofa, the same one where they once told me my college fund wasn't really mine. "Erica, honey," she began, her voice soft, like when I was a child, when she wanted something. "I need to talk to you about something important." She looked older than I remembered, tired. Her hands nervously played with the edge of her sweater. "Your father retired last spring," she said. "His health isn't great anymore, and his medication costs are, well, they're more than we expected. I had to cut back to part-time at work to take care of him." I sat quietly, waiting for her to continue. "The house needs work too," she added, pointing at the water stains on the ceiling. "The roof leaks, the furnace is old, and we can barely afford basic repairs. We're struggling, Erica." Then came the words I knew were coming. "We've seen how well you're doing, that beautiful car outside, your success. We're so proud of you. We were wondering if maybe you could help us out a little." I looked around at the house where I had grown up. The fading wallpaper, the worn carpet. Despite everything, I couldn't stand the thought of my parents struggling. "I'll send you $2,000 a month," I heard myself say. Mom's eyes lit up. She threw her arms around me, hugging me for the second time that night. "Oh, Erica, thank you, sweetheart. This means so much to us." True to my word, I set up the monthly transfers as soon as I got back to Fresno. Like clockwork, $2,000 went to my parents' account every month. I told myself it was for Dad's medical bills and house repairs. I didn't ask for receipts or proof. I was too busy with work to worry about how they spent it. But every now and then, when I had a rare free moment, I would check Sydney's Facebook page. There she was at a fancy new fusion restaurant, posting pictures of expensive sushi platters. Another post showed shopping bags from designer boutiques. She posed in new outfits in every photo, expensive ones, judging by the brand names. All this while still living at home with our struggling parents. Maybe she got a job? I wondered about it, but her post didn't make sense. Lunch at fancy cafes on Sunday afternoons. Shopping sprees on Saturday mornings. Spa days on Thursdays. If she had a job, when did she work? But I was too busy with my own life to think about it too much. My team was growing, we had big projects launching, and I was up for another promotion. Then the call came, right in the middle of an important meeting. Mom never called during work hours. Our only contact for the past year had been through the monthly bank transfer notifications. I stepped out of the conference room. "Erica, we need your help," Mom said immediately, skipping any greetings. Her voice sounded urgent, more serious than I had heard since I was a child. "We need $100,000. It's an emergency." "Mom, wait." But she had already hung up. I stared at my phone, confused and afraid. My first thought was Dad. His health had been getting worse. That's why I had been sending money home every month. Was he in the hospital? Did he need emergency surgery? I remembered how weak he had looked at Christmas. The medical system was expensive. One bad illness could ruin a family financially. I rushed back into the meeting room, grabbed my things. "I'm sorry, everyone. I have a family emergency." I handed things over to my teammate Morgan, canceled all my meetings for the week, and booked the first flight to South Dakota. The entire trip, my mind raced with worst-case scenarios: Dad in the ICU, life-saving procedures they couldn't afford, impossible choices they had to make. I had read the headlines about families going bankrupt because of medical bills. Was this happening to my family? I rented a car and followed the GPS to my parents' house. 30 minutes away. Then I noticed something strange. All the lights in the house were on. I could see it from the end of the street. That wasn't what I expected in a medical emergency. Usually, in a crisis, people forget to turn on lights. I barely had time to knock before Mom opened the door. Her face fell when she saw me, like I was a salesperson at the door, not her daughter who had just flown across the country for an emergency. "Erica, what are you doing here?" Behind her, I saw Dad sitting in his chair, looking completely fine, reading a magazine. Sydney was in the living room, pacing back and forth, typing furiously on her phone. "You didn't have to come," Mom said, hesitating before letting me in. "We just needed you to send the money." The house smelled like coffee and pastries, not the air of a family in crisis. I looked around, confused. Then my eyes landed on the bridal magazines scattered across the coffee table. What was really going on? At first, I didn't notice. "Dad, are you okay?" I asked. "He's fine," Mom said quickly, throwing Sydney a warning look. "Everyone's fine. You really didn't need to come all this way." That's when Sydney stepped forward, practically bouncing with excitement. She held out her left hand, and a massive diamond ring sparkled in the light. It had to be at least 2 carats, way more than her fiancé could afford on his entry-level salary. "I'm getting married," she squealed. "And we need the money for the wedding. $100,000 should cover the basics." I stood there, completely stunned, my carry-on bag still in my hand. The emergency that made me cancel work, book a last-minute flight, and worry myself sick was a wedding? "Well, we need to book the venue soon," Mom said, as if this made perfect sense. She sat on the couch, smoothing her skirt like we were just discussing weekend plans. $100,000 isn't much for a wedding these days. It's really quite modest when you think about it. Sydney nodded, still admiring her ring. "I actually wanted a $200,000 wedding," she said, "but I thought about you, sis. I cut everything in half to make it easier for you. You should be thanking me, really. I mean, $100,000 isn't a lot for you anymore." I looked at my sister's smug face, at my mother's expectant expression, and something inside me finally snapped. "No," I said, my voice calm but firm. "I won't give you a penny for this wedding." The silence was deafening. "What?" Sydney whispered, her face shifting from shock to rage. "You heard me. I won't pay for a wedding for someone who has made my life miserable since we were kids. Someone who lied about me, stole from me, and got me punished for things I didn't do. Someone whose tricks cost me my summer camp, my phone privileges, and so much more." I turned to my parents.
And you?
"You always took her side. You always believed her lies over my truth. How dare you?" Mom jumped up from the couch. "After everything we've done for you," she shouted. I laughed. "Everything you've done for me?
Fine.
Let's talk about what you've actually done with my money. Show me the receipts." "What receipts?" Dad finally spoke. "The medical bills I've been paying for. The house repairs you said you needed. Show me where my $320,000 went over the past year." The room went completely silent. Mom and Dad exchanged nervous glances. "We used it for necessary things," Mom stammered. "Necessary things?" I repeated. "Like Sydney's shopping sprees? Her expensive restaurant visits? Her designer clothes?" I pulled out my phone and opened Sydney's Facebook page. Funny how someone living with our struggling parents can afford Gucci bags and weekly spa visits. Sydney's face turned red. "You've been stalking me." "No," I said calmly. "I've just been watching you show off my money all over social media." "You selfish jerk," Sydney screamed, tears running down her face. "You have everything, a fancy job, a nice car, a beautiful apartment. Why can't you share? We raised you better than this." Dad stepped in. "You've become a greedy, heartless person." I felt calm, calmer than I had ever felt before. "Heartless," I repeated.
No.
"What's heartless is tricking your daughter into giving you money. What's heartless is spending her college fund on your favorite child. What's heartless is lying about medical bills to fund Sydney's shopping and vacations." I picked up my bag. "I'm done. The monthly payment stopped today. Don't call me. Don't message me. Don't ask me for anything ever again. You can't do this to us." Sydney was in full hysterics now, mascara running down her face. "I've already told everyone about my dream wedding." I walked to the door and turned back one last time. "That sounds like a you problem." The calls and messages started before I even reached my rental car. By the time I got to my hotel, my phone was flooded. Texts calling me selfish and ungrateful. Voicemails from Mom, crying about family obligations. Messages from Sydney, threatening to tell everyone what a terrible person I was.
Fine.
Let everyone know. I sat down at my laptop and started typing. An open letter about family, money, and the truth. I explained everything: the childhood manipulation, the stolen college fund, the recent financial lies. I attached screenshots of Sydney's luxury shopping and fancy dinners, all posted during the months I was sending money for medical bills. I ended the letter with their demand for a $100,000 wedding. The post went viral within our extended family. Aunt Lauren called it disgraceful behavior. Cousin Sam said he had never seen such manipulation. Uncle Owen, always the family peacemaker, canceled his RSVP to Sydney's wedding. 4 months later, my cousin John gave me an update. Sydney's dream wedding? A quiet dinner at Olive Garden with her husband's family and our parents. No designer dress. No fancy venue. No elaborate flowers. Just breadsticks and a limited menu. I smiled when I heard the news, but I didn't feel any satisfaction. I was too busy living my own life. My team at work had just finished a successful project launch. I had started dating Kevin, a kind software engineer who respected my boundaries about family. My therapist said I was making excellent progress. Sometimes late at night, I still see message requests from my family. I delete them without reading. The little girl who once desperately wanted her parents' approval is gone. In her place is a woman who finally understands. Real family isn't about blood. It's about shared values.